right, you guys, it's episode 80 of Inner Demons, and without further ado, I'm going to get straight to it. So check it out, you guys. Before I get into this, let me just make a quick announcement real quick. So for those of you that give a care, the Vlad interview has already been done. I did it this past, I want to say, was this last Friday. So it's done. I'm not sure when it's going to air. When they give me an update as far as when it's going to air, I'll let you guys know. I put a posting in the community, and I'll let you guys, see the response that I got back from one of his directors. And it was tentatively, I guess the way that Vlad does it is you have a subscription to his channel. And those that are subscribed to his channel, the membership, I would imagine, they get to see the entire video first. That's the benefit of having a membership. After that, then I guess he releases clips, 4 5-minute clips over the course of however many weeks. They release like 1 clip a week or something like that. Once they get through releasing all the clips, then they release the entire video for everybody else. The video was, I want to say it took around 2.5 hours to do the video. I'm not sure how much of it is going to be edited out and how much is actually going to be seen, but I think it was a good video. It was definitely a lot better than the last one. There ain't going to be no kingpin or none of that shit. I definitely didn't look like no 300-pound swole silverback. Just trust me. They're 2 entirely different videos. But as soon as I get a definitive answer one way or the other, I will let you guys know. Other than that, that's about it. Let me get into this next video. So episode 79, I told you guys that Lencho just came into the county jail. He's on the 4th floor. I'm in 2nd East Max, which is the old jail. So, I'm over there with around, I want to say at that time, at any given time, there was up to 12 Norteños over there. Norteños, Hermanos, and then you had Dancing Bear, another C. At one time, you had Kramer over there. So it was the old jail and the new jail. At that time, when Lencho came in, Stretch was still holding down the jail. Although I knew it, at some point, Lencho was going to pull status on Stretch and was going to take over the jail. He didn't do it as soon as he came in. And he came in with another C, Marcos Abundis, Weddle, another C that got arrested with him. They both caught their case together. Matter of fact, it was those two and Joker, Ruiz, VSJ, I want to say. Either way, it was those 3. But he came in and he kind of just fell back, probably because he's just hella lazy. Didn't want to deal with, all the paperwork, having to respond to, just all the different things that were going on in the county jail. So he let Stretch continue to run the jail. Everything that was coming from Elmwood, that was coming from the new jail, the old jail, it all continued to come to 2nd East. So again, Manos and Looney were my neighbors. Both of those cats were from SJG. And they were like the secretaries / buffers. When business needed to be conducted over the phone, those were the 2 dummies that were doing it. And, I like both of them. I'm not saying that in a bad way, but these guys ended up getting caught up over somebody else because somebody else didn't want to get on the phone. Because Lencho didn't want to get on the phone. Dancing Bear didn't want to get on the phone. They put these guys up to putting their business out there, and they would end up getting indicted. I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but, I'm going to get into exactly how that happened later on. But, it's foreseeable. You guys should be able to figure that out. If the phones were smoking hot over there in the Santa Clara County Jail, we all got caught up. These guys are putting business out there. They're getting ready to hit the streets, and they wanted to make sure that everything was in place before they got out there. So that ended up working against them, because although I understand they wanted to get out there and, make the transition a lot easier, get out there, have all the contacts in place, all the manpowers tapped in, everything ready to go. The phones were too hot. They should have just waited. Dancing Bear should have waited, took all that information with them, the contact information, paroled, got out and did all that grunt work on the streets like everybody else when, you know, you're going out there and you're building a regiment. So for the next couple of weeks, you know, the jail basically it continues to run the same. Nothing special is happening. Lencho's over there. I know he's over there. I can hear him breathing. You know, at one point, Stretch gets at me and he tells me, he's like, B, he calls down the tier. I think it was when we were drinking, because he usually wouldn't put nothing over the tier. But I remember him yelling down. He's like, hey, B. I'm like, what's up, bro? And he's like, hey, man, he's like, you know, that fool got at me, bro. And he wants to come down. And I told Stretch, I'm like, let him, bro, bring him down. And Stretch was like, nah, bro. He's like, you know, if we bring that fool down there, he's going to start pushing that issue against you. And I really wasn't worried about it. I told Stretch like this. I said, look, bro, to be honest with you, as long as he's over there, he's going to push that issue harder, because that's the way Lencho works. That's how he works. That's how he operates. He doesn't want to, you know, when it comes to up in your face, you know, confrontational, handling, letting his nuts swing, that's not Lencho. He'd rather be over there on the 4th floor taking shots, you know, than to be right there in my face and doing it right there on the tier with me, straight up. Any other C that, you know, would have had any kind of backbone would have came down there, would have did what they had to do, whether it was good or bad, and it wouldn't matter where they were at. But Lencho being up there, I told him, look, let him come down, bro. And he was like, nah, man. He's like, you know, I'm not trying to see that happen. I don't want him to come down here and push the issue. And we went back and forth on it. I'm like, Stretch, when class comes down there, because that's what he was asking us to do. Class, I told you guys this before, classification, gang intel officers, they used to walk the tier. They would walk the whole jail. Yeah, you guys can see my guy right there. So they would walk the entire jail, mainly the you know, the lockdown tiers, mainly the, you know, Supermax, not Supermax, Little Max, AdSeg, North Max, South Max, the observation cells. And, you know, those were the main ones that they would hit. They wouldn't really walk down there by the snake pits or Hollywood or Siberia or none of those. Even on the 4th floor, they would rarely walk around up there. It was mainly the old jail. I don't know why, but they usually kept the more, you know, the high security, high profile inmates in the old jail. So anyways, eventually I convinced Stretch. I'm like, look, as long as he's up there, he's going to push harder. He comes down here, he's going to back up like a crawdad, bro. Straight up. So Stretch, he's like, all right, bro, you know, if you think that that's the best thing to do, he's like, then let's try to get him down. So we start pushing. Class, they walk, you know, they come down there a couple of days later, whenever it was, and as soon as they come down there, you know, Stretch, I see him, he short stops him. Hey, try to get Guzman down there. You know, we want to try to get him down there. And I'm watching him through the crack of my door. And I can see him kind of like scoff, like, yeah, you know, they knew what was up. There were enough people in that jail giving them information that they knew that there was, you know, they knew that there was a conflict. They knew everything that was going on. So, you know, Stretch is like, no, you know, we've been trying to get him down there. So they're like, well, we'll check it out. So then they come down, they walk by my door and I stop them. Delacruz, cop, seriously, get Guzman down there. You know, I'd rather have him down here with us than up on the 4th floor. You know, we've been trying to get him down here. So, you know, they were like, well, you know, we'll see. Right now, we're not in no big hurry to be moving people around. And, you know, I think he'd rather be up there with, you know, with his guys. And nah, matter of fact, he wants to come down there. Matter of fact, we're trying to get Joker down here, Ruiz, as well as Abundi's Weddle. We're trying to get all 3 of them down there. So, you know, see if you can put that move in for us. So, you know, they were like, we'll check it out. So No, next time we go out to the yard, me, Looney, Monos, again, we have a conversation about them. And, I told you guys how I had to kind of like build, an alliance around me down there on Second East. I had to. And I wasn't trying to play these guys out of pocket. A lot of them were youngsters, and I don't think that they knew that they were being manipulated like that, but it was all psychological. And it was all a part of, I seen what was probably going to happen. These things that were I was able to look ahead because I knew Lencho for one, and I could see everything unfold as it was happening, and it was imperative that these guys were firmly behind me. If I wouldn't have established that type of an alliance around me, things probably would have happened a lot different, and it might have been expedited, which wouldn't have worked again, which wouldn't have worked in my favor at that time. So, I played my cards the way I was supposed to, and I had a purpose, and it wasn't to play anybody out of pocket. It was just to maintain, that loyalty on the tier and not allow this dirt bag to try to get his hooks in. Like I knew he was. So when I would go out to the yard with Looney and Manos, I would ask him, hey, you guys told me that this cat he's not really pushing that line, but he's making references and he's taking shots, subliminals. And I would ask him, what kind of things is he saying? And they gave me examples, and I was just like, man, this fucking dude, man. Here I am. It's almost at this point, almost 5-6 years later, and I get it, man. I made some phone calls that are still haunting me 5 years later, and I'm still trying to do damage control. And this dirtbag comes in the county jail and he's pushing this issue again. And mind you, there's still no paperwork. Damn, 5 years. 5 years. I mean, why couldn't these cats give me the benefit of the doubt? Why couldn't they do that? According to everything that I've learned, unless I missed something in class, due process is supposed to be afforded even in the most egregious situations. When it looks bad, you're supposed to afford somebody due process unless they pose as an immediate threat. And I don't see it. I was forthcoming about everything that happened. I let them know. I gave them a heads up before they even would have found out. There was legitimate reasons why. I'm not trying to justify talking like that, but everybody knew my girl was dying. I could have said the sky was falling. I could have said the sky was falling next week, or I own the Golden Gate Bridge. I could have said anything. And would it have mattered? It wouldn't have mattered. So a lot of guys that I've talked to over the course of time that were familiar with my situation, they're like, B, you know what, man? There's a lot of dudes that tell their ladies the same shit. They tell their ladies whatever they need to tell them in order to keep them pacified, keep them on the team, because they're getting ready to fall off for whatever reason, but it never comes to light. So what you did, I don't see no difference. The only thing that was different about your situation is the district attorney played his hand and, try to use that to expose you. And these cats bid on it. And they did. They did. If anybody can articulate to me why it would have been detrimental to allow me to continue to fight my case until the end of all these cases, until they were all adjudicated, articulated to me. You get somebody that talks on the phone. They say that whatever, even in the most, say they just say the worst shit that they can say. I'm going to cooperate. I'm going to do it no matter what to get home to you. And they're telling their girl this. And then at some point it gets found out, they get exposed. But this individual is like, man, look, I'm just telling my lady this. I'm just telling her whatever she needs to hear to keep her on my team, because she's getting ready to fall off. but it'll never happen. What's detrimental about letting somebody like that, if you're not really sure which way, one way or the other, that's what they're doing. That's what freeze is for. I understand, if you got somebody that might be a potential rat, I get it. You got somebody that might be giving up information. Well, that's what freeze is for. You put a security blanket on them. You put them on freeze. You take him offline. He's not privy to any internal information. So you keep him out of the loop. Why would he be considered an immediate threat? There were countless other cats in that county jail that straight had black and white on them, straight up. Twist was one of them. I can go down the line, but I'm just not going to throw these dudes on blast. My objective here is not to bring up old shit and to start having people out there looking into stuff and pulling paperwork. Hey, if they don't know, then it wasn't important enough for them to look into it at that time. I'm not going to put it out there. But I know a number of individuals that said things that they shouldn't have said. Dry snitching or straight out, it was cut and dry. And then, what are they even doing sitting down talking to law enforcement anyway? Tell me that. How did they get the benefit of the doubt? I'm not crying. It was done is done. Nothing's going to change. I'm simply just trying to make a point to you guys so that you guys can really understand, the everything that happened. I wasn't asking for preferential treatment. I wasn't asking to be treated any kind of different way. All I said from the get-go is, look, this is what I said. This is what you're going to hear. However, this is the reason why I said it. My girl's dying. My mom's crazy. They're pushing this issue. They think I'm going to get life. I'm going to get life, but, I got to tell them whatever I got to tell them to keep them pacified and to keep my girl from dying. That's it. But, if you guys think that there's something going on, fuck it, throw me on freeze. Why couldn't they just let the case play out? And then they would have found out that, you know what, he never sat down and talked to nobody. Straight up. And everybody that was a part of my situation, later on, they would find out about it. Everybody that was in that county jail. And at that point, it was a moot point at that point. By then, everything had happened. They were like, well, it wasn't happening at that point. But, what can you do now? It happened anyway. So it is what it is. Anyway, so let me get off of that. So Lencho's up there. He continues to push. He sent down two or three one times, and he was just crying about getting down there. What it was is the dirt bag. He understood that tier was a good tier. There were a lot of homies that had been on that tier, and he knew that there was tobacco down there. He knew we were having our way down there, and on the fourth floor, he didn't have shit coming. So he wanted to get down there, and we continue to push. I did it not because I liked the dude and I really wanted him to be down there, but I did it because it kind of helped serve my purpose at the time. I was doing anything I could do to protect my career, to make sure that my career was preserved. I was making moves to keep it intact. It wasn't like I was just sitting back with my feet up, not giving a shit. This was all I know. This is all I've been living for. I gave my kids up for this shit. I've given up, relationships. I've done time for this shit. I've done, at that point, over 10 years in the SHOOT program for, because of this commitment. There were a lot of sacrifices that were made, that branched off into other sacrifices, it just, those things, affected me for years. And that's what I signed up for. So anyways, eventually classification, they go ahead and they facilitate the move. And, like I had told you guys, I got it Stretch about it. I got it Manos Looney. There was another individual that I haven't really mentioned about him. I haven't really mentioned too much about him, although he was he was an instrumental part of everything that was happening in Second East, and that's Jerry Chavez. They call him Bones. He's got a brother named Carlos Roman. I want to say they're half brothers, but anyways, so he was Stretch's celly, and he was part of their little leadership circle down there. He was involved with everything, and he was another one that I had on my team. So really, it was Manos, Looney, Stretch, Bones. Then you had another little youngster down there, Spanky. I want to say Spanky was from, I can't remember. I want to say he was from Balmas or one of the mother hoods. I don't think it was Balmas, so it might have been. But anyway, so it was him, and then you had Pistol Pete was down there. Then you also had another individual named Loco Tomas that I told you guys about. I want to say his name was Tomas Vasquez. Cool cat. And he was the one that I told you guys had a direct line to Chuco. So he was riding Chuco, which was a good thing. That was a resource that, once I found out that he had a line to Chuco, that was something that I would utilize. I jumped on it right away, especially knowing that DB was there. I got it, Loco Tomas, and I told him, hey, get it, Chuco. Let him know that I'm here. You know what I mean? I'm basically I'm just here trying to fight my case. That's what I'm focused on. Everything's good. DB, let him know Dancing Bear left, which I'm sure he already did. That was his job to communicate with him. So he was already doing that. But I told him, Dancing Bear, let him know he's out there. I'm in constant contact with him. Lencho's here, and there's no question in my mind that this fool is probably, trying to create some static. So he did that. And he was like, you know what, I'm going to get Adam beat on trip, and I'm going to let him know, to send word back to basically tell Lencho to stand down and, just kind of reiterate that you're here, you're on the team, you're rocking with us and all that good stuff. So, I was like, cool. But like I told you guys, as far as Chuco, I really, honestly, I felt like, man, this dude got power over my situation by default, only because, Corny, Skip, all them guys, Pinky, they're all gone. If they were in charge of my situation, if they would have stayed there for just a little bit longer, and if they would have maintained control over everything that was happening at that time, specifically my situation, I'm not sure, but I would have felt more confident that things would have turned out a little bit different. Because if nothing else, those brothers, they knew me. And, when it comes to looking into shit, investigating, giving some homies, giving other C's the benefit of the doubt, those guys were, at least for the most part, on point. There were some things that happened over the years. Yeah, you got some black spots in history, Brown Bob, Mike Eo, and some other things. But, without getting into all that, that wasn't directly on them. They made some decisions after it happened that weren't looked at as good decisions for the organization. But, that's another story. Bottom line is I would have felt more confident. I would have felt better if I would have been in their hands when all this was happening. But it didn't work like that. They transitioned out. You got these other guys that transitioned in. These guys are self-appointed. And, it was what it was. So, anyways, like I told you guys, I got it, Looney and Manos, and, we had pretty much heard that Lencho was coming down that day, the day he came down. And I told him, I got at him down low. I shot him one time, and I'm like, look, I guarantee you, man, I promise you, When this dude comes on the tier, he's gonna walk by my cell and he's gonna act like we're best friends, and it's gonna be in contrast to everything that he's been saying, the way he's been getting at you guys, on it, the filters that he's been sending down here, it will be completely different from how he acts when he comes down here. He's gonna act like we're best friends, and then I'm supposed to be this, this piece of shit that is doing all these things he's saying I'm doing. Well, I promise you that he'll start sending me all the paperwork that starts going through his hands. Filters, rosters, investigations, all that. If he doesn't, I'll be fucking shocked. So, boom, here we go. Showtime. Lencho, here he comes. I hear the gate. I can smell him coming from around the corner. It smells like fucking mayonnaise, spaghetti sauce, toothpaste, all that shit. He's got all that crusted shit he's got all over his top shirt. So I hear the front gate open up, and the way my cell was, I could see down the tier that way. So in comes this roly-poly motherfucker, right? And I can see him walking down the tier, greeting some of the Asian cats that are in the front, China, and the rest of the brothers that were up there. So he starts to make his way towards where we're at. We were all on the back end of that tier, and he was supposed to go like two cells down, so he had to pass by myself. So I'm posted. I'm right there on my gate. Looney Manos are right there, stretch. Everybody's waiting for this fool to come down. And he walks by. He's like, "What's up? What's up? All right now, all right, right." He comes up to my cell. "What's up, doc? What's up, B? Right? What's up, boy?" First thing he does, he comes up, sticks his little pinky through my gate to shake my hand, right? So I play along with him, right? Like, "What's up, bro? What's up? Good to see you again, bro." He's like, "Yeah, man, hell yeah, man. Damn, bro, I've been trying to get down there, man. Yeah, bro. We've been trying to pull you for the last couple weeks, man." I'm like, "Man, yeah, I'll get at you, bro. It's good to see you again." He's like, "Yeah, bro, yeah, for sure, man." So he smashes off, right? Fucking spaghetti, mayonnaise, whatever other kind of yellow shit, mustard sauce he had on his top shirt. So, anyways, he gets in his cell, and as soon as they mash off, he's like, "What's up, B?" And me myself, this is how much of a dirtbag he is. Me myself, whenever I hit a tier and I get into a cell, regardless of who's in that cell, this is just me, because I've done time so for so many years, and I've done so much whole time. I've become a compulsive cell cleaner, and it's just when I get into a new cell, it's like, man, it's a petri dish for just somebody else's germs. So right away, I'll get in there, and if somebody's trying to get at me, I'm like, "Hey, man, I'll get at you. Let me tend to this cell first, because I'm about to scrub this motherfucker from the top to the bottom and wipe away any trace of anybody that was ever here before me." And that's what I do. I literally like douche out that whole cell from the top to the bottoms, wiping the walls down, cleaning that cell. But this fool, he comes in, obviously throws his little, he had everything wrapped up in the sheet. He threw that down on his bunk, and he's making his bunk. I'm picturing him up in there. I'm like, this dirty motherfucker. He's talking to me, but I can tell how he's moving around, that he's in there making his bed, walking around, tying up his sheets and shit. And we're chopping it up. He got me on the gate for about an hour, just chopping it up with him. And then he kicks back. So he didn't even clean his cell. Because I tell him, I'm like, hey, bro, I got a green pad and some Comet for you, man, if you want to clean that cell. And he's like, "Nah, bro, the cell's pretty clean. It's clean. I don't care how a cell looks. That's just me." And I know there's a lot of you out there that know what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter, that's just the kind of greasy ass individual he was. But anyway, so we chop it up for the rest of the day, and later on that night, after he's there for a while, Stretch gets at him. He doesn't do a passover because he's not giving the jail to him. He's just, it's more of an abreastment. He's like, look, this is everything that's going on down there. We got this situation over here in Elmwood, this situation right here, the situation that happened with Smiley and Green Eyes on the tier where they fought, and everything else that was going on in the jail. So Stretch shoots him everything over there, to basically put him up on everything that's happening in the jail, which is normal. He's a C, and even though Stretch was left the jail, by Dancing Bear, still it's the right thing to do. You got an NF member that hits the tier, he could pull rank and take that tier, but in the meantime, shoot him everything, let him know everything that's going on. This is what I'm doing with this is what I'm doing with that, and bam. So that's what he does. Well, 20, 30 minutes later, Lencho tells me to shoot my line. So I shoot my line down there, and I pull it in, and there's a shitload of bundles, kites, all kind of shit. And he's like, he gets at me, scribbles his chicken scratch, on a piece of paper. And he's like, hey, check this out right here. There was the situation dealing with Smiley and Green Eyes. Unfortunately, Green Eyes got the shitty end of that stick because Smiley was hermano, and they were all campaigning against Green Eyes. But anyways, he's like, check this out. Give me your opinion on this, and check these out. And I'm on freeze. I just tell myself, I'm like, I thought I was supposed to be on freeze. So, but what I do is I put everything in the bag. I tap on my my neighbor's wall, Looney and Manos, and I'm like, hey, down low. And I just scribble something in there real quick. Check it out. What did I tell you guys? I told you that when this dude came down there, he was gonna send me everything. I'm supposed to be on freeze, right? So they shoot me back on one time, and they're like, wow, fucking, you sure did. You called that shit, man. That shit's crazy, right? So I was just like, I told you guys, man. This dude, I know this cat like the back of my hand. He's rotten to the core, straight up. He's predictable because he's that rotten of a fucking dude. And I know a lot of you ask, well, if he was that rotten, how was he able to slide through the cracks, all these years, and how was he pulled? And honestly, the only thing I can tell you guys is that he was pulled by cats out of San Jose. Obviously, that he had some kind of, somebody had some kind of favorable relationship with them, and they pulled him. But as far as him, slipping through the cracks through the years, it was all about timing. That motherfucker was lucky whenever he got out to the streets, and there were certain people out there that would have deemed him, or he slid up out of situations, he would go back in. And whenever he was inside and he end up, he would have got caught up, he went back out to the streets straight up. I can give you guys example after example, but my objective here is not to talk about Lencho's career. He's where he should be right now, and that's all that matters. And I'm gonna go into all the details about why he's where he's at, because it's all part of this right here. But anyway, so I go through everything, and kind of like Dancing Bear, he's another lazy C that doesn't like to write. The C's that I've been around over the years, they were sharp, articulate. When it came to their penmanship on paper, most of them were able to write real small, 5 lines per margin on a regular line piece of paper. Legible, like I said, articulate, and just the way that they spoke, the words that they chose, and just everything about them. You knew that was an NF member. These two, they were like 2 peas in a pod, though. Both, they were damn near like each other. Out of the two, I like Dancing Bear more. But when it came to conducting household business or you know, their responsibilities within that household or within San Quentin. I've been over there with Lencho 1,000 times. Lazy, didn't like to do nothing. Would just like to sit on his ass and smoke all day. That's all he did in San Quentin. And whenever he would write a one time, again, it would just be like, motherfucker, take a tear off a strip of his bag lunch and write it on there, fold it up and be like, hey, shoot your line. I bullshit you guys not. I'm not making this shit up. Anyways, so you know, Lencho's down there now, and you know, the whole time he's down there again, he's acting like we're like the best of friends, and it's just I see right through it, man. I see right through it, and you know, when we were down there, I'm just gonna say it like this, man. There was a time, so Josh, the guy that you guys remember that caught the homicide in the jail. So he's in the ob cell, and by this time, I get my appeal back from, or my writ from the California Supreme Court. I get it back and they deny me. So now I'm ready to go. My mind is like, you know what? I'm not feeling. I'm gonna catch a life case. I know I'm gonna get life. But my thing was like, I'm not gonna go spend the rest of my life on an SMY. I'm just not gonna do it. And it's not because I feel like I'm better than any other dropout or anybody else that has walked away or anything like that. It's because of the child molesters and those undesirables, that other class of people that I refuse to be around. That's just, you know, it was something that me and Josh, we both felt strongly about. And now that I was down there, I was like, I'm ready to go now. So what you want to do? So we start kicking, you know, things around, and I get it Lencho. I get it Lencho this one time, and I'm not gonna go into the things that I talked about in that kite, but I was like, look, bro, I know I'm gonna catch a life sentence on this case. I know they're gonna wash me. They're gonna wash up the homie up there in the front in the ob cell. This is what, you know, this is what I'm thinking right here. And I lay it all out to him. And I tell him, hey, when you're done with this, send it back, bro. It's got nothing to do with not trusting you, but this is an extremely hot fucking kite. I want to destroy it myself. But if you're on board, let's do this, bro. Knowing that this coward wasn't gonna want to participate in something like that. So he reads my kite, and I wrote it in pencil, right? I remember I wrote it in pencil. 20 minutes later, he sends that back. He shoots it back, and I get it and I look at it. And there's something about it that there's just something about it that I see that's not right. And it's like, what the fuck is up with this kite? I couldn't figure it out. It wasn't jumping out at me at the time. But when I looked at it, it was smeared. The pencil was smeared. Then it dawned on me. It fucking dawned on me. This motherfucker dusted that kite. He dusted it. He took his fingerprints off. Like, I'm gonna turn this kite in with his fingerprints on it. So I don't say nothing, but it's just something I took a mental note, and I'm like, okay, all right. So I want to say it was the next time we went up. I made some wine and everybody's drinking, and you know, he's down there drunk and he's talking, saying all kind of shit he shouldn't be saying on the tier. And then I you know, it's the perfect time to get at him. So I'm like, hey, Lencho. He's like, what's up? And I'm like, hey, bro, you remember that one time I shot you last week? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, bro, I know what you did, bro. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, come on, man. I wrote that motherfucker in pencil, bro. And when I got it back, it was smeared. You dusted that motherfucker. I'm like, man, come on, bro. Is that what you think? Is that really what you're thinking? He's like, nah, bro, it ain't nothing like that. He's like, man, I'm just like, that shit right there, what you were talking about, that shit was fucking, That was smoking hot. I didn't want my fingerprints on that shit for nothing. You know, even if you flushed that shit, I didn't want my prints coming up on it, you know, wherever it landed. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I let it go, but the writing was on the wall. You know, Lencho thought he was smart, and you know, he's easy to figure out. But anyways, unfortunately, this is probably a good. I know, I already know. I can hear you. There's a couple of you that always said, man, every time you fucking stop, you leave us on cliffhangers, and you need to make them longer. I really wish I could, but if I do that, these inner demons are gonna be done. You know, I still got a ways to go, but I don't want to fly through this shit too quick. But you know, I kind of have this all charted out or mapped out in my mind, and you know, the certain events that happen in every, you know, every thumbnail or every part of the story that I want to get to. So, you know, I kind of got to do it like that. And as long as they stay like 45, 50 minutes, you guys should be cool anyway. You want me to give you like another 5 minutes? Okay, so anyways, it might not be about this, but I'll say this though, real quick in regards to, so I put out a video yesterday. It finally cleared, the video on Salinas Valley. And you know, again, I knew that there was going to be a lot of pushback on that video because there was a lot of information in there and there was a lot of things said. And you know, again, it's not my objective, and it wasn't my objective to take shots at anybody on BR. It wasn't my objective to paint them in a certain light. I took a step back and allowed this individual to put his message out there. And I did it the whole time I did it. When I was drafting that up, I let him see it. Hey, is this how this went? Is this how that went? Do you want it said like this? I didn't put nothing on it. I didn't add nothing. There's none of my language in there. Well, obviously, you know, I wrote it, you know, so in that regard, but I wasn't there on the yard, so I wasn't putting my 2 cents in like that. That was his message. You know, I know a lot of you tapped in, and for the most part, and I think that the message resonated with a lot of people. They're like, man, you know, this sheds a lot of light on different situations that have been happening. And that was the purpose of it right there, because there was a lot of other channels that put out information on it, and it was good information. It was good information, and it all lined up. There were some things that were off a little bit, but the whole purpose was to put it out there. And you know, you guys make the, you know, you guys look at it and decide whether or not this is righteous, or if this right here is some bullshit. What's going on out there? The only part that was that I kind of expressed towards the end is like what I said, as far as like, you know, having to accept the fact that we're all expendable is one thing. Having to accept the fact that a lot of the times good, solid brothers don't get the benefit of the doubt, and they learn the hard way. They learn that, or they find that out the hard way. I said that. And, you know, those are some things that now I believe a lot of homeboys, they're accepting it because it comes with the territory. And they're just some hard truths that they got to accept. But when it starts, you know, when norteños are being victimized and physically beat up, stabbed, threatened, punked, and they're being told to stand down and to be made into forcing them into being cowards, or forcing them into looking like cowards, that's just messed up. That's going a little bit too far. That's going to make a lot of people walk away. I personally think that 40 to 50 years of forward progress is being destroyed right now. BR cannot destroy the entire movement. And when I said the crumbling movement, again, these are not my words. This is the reason what made this individual walk away for. And there's still people that are getting at me right now that are on B Yard, that are still active. And they're saying, hey, everything you put out is on point. So I know that there was some cats that tapped in there like, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I do. I do. I think you know I do. And, you know, again, it's not my objective to, I'm not trying to throw them on blast like that. But if there's homies out there being victimized in some kind of way, maybe this message at least will, maybe this will cause, you know, those that are in positions to make a difference, to step up and make some changes, or at least, you know, it'll be conscious. They'll make conscious notes of everything that was said, and in time things will kind of change. Right? We're not doing that no more. Or this right here was an issue. So I don't know. You know, again, you guys are the ones that need to make the choices. What's righteous, what's not righteous. For some people to tap in and act like I don't know what I'm talking about, come on, man. I got too much experience. I was a leader for too long. So you're not even making sense. I'm not sour. I'm not somebody that's spewing poison. It does me no good. I'm done with that. You know, if I ever did that, maybe I did it when I first came out, but I'm past all that now. So if anything, you know, I'm trying to help some homies that are getting victimized, even though it is what it is. That's all I'm gonna say on that. You know, that's all I'm gonna say. But I could have painted people in a worse, you know, I could have painted them worse than what I did. But again, that wasn't my objective. That's not what I was trying to do. Wasn't trying to put, if anything, I tried to let people know that Silencio, you know, with regards to him and everything that was said about him, he's not a coward. And I don't believe he closed that door like people were insinuating that he did. And he didn't. But everything that, you know, I was told, and according to, you know, what they seen on the cameras and all that stuff. So anyways, I'm just rambling now. I just wanted to give that viewer, or those 2 or 3 viewers that always say, man, every time you get to the end of your video, I'm like, man, fuck that shit. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. I'm gonna try to get you guys out another video right now. It's late, but I want to try to get out this other video that I got from another viewer. I got some people tapping in that are starting to share stories with me. Again, I'm gonna put it out there again. My email is Boxer Paradigm. It's Boxer and then Paradigm. Same word that is part of the YouTube channel. BoxerParadigm@gmail.com. If you guys have any stories about the Mexican Mafia, stories that, you know, you were with them in prison, you were on a yard, a lot of the same stories that you guys have been seeing me put out along those same lines, tap in with me through my email, and I'll compensate you for your time and for sharing those stories with me. You will remain anonymous. I'm not going to put nobody out there. There's a lot of people that have been reaching out to me, that have reached out to me for a while. I've never put nobody on blast. I don't get down like that. It's just not my thing. So if you guys get at me, you got some good stories that you think that, you know, the people will want to hear, tap in with me, share those stories with me. I'm always looking for new content. It will help the channel. Right now, I need some people to tap in with some more good stories, some of those fire stories that you guys like hearing. So again, boxerparadigm@gmail.com. With that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and put this one in the history books. I'll try to get you guys out another one, if not tomorrow, the next day. I got another Mexican Mafia story coming out tomorrow with Termite, Charlie Chats, and I want to say Sluggo, Big Sluggo from Norwalk. It's another good one. So you guys like that last story on Termite. From everything I've been hearing, Termite was a stand-up individual. So tap in for that one. I got some other ones lined up, but I'm going to try to get this cartel story out real quick. It's a short one. It's a little different, but I think you guys will like it. Anyways, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode right here, episode 80. This your boy B, and I'm out.